Hey everyone, how you doing? Welcome back to a new episode of JOECMDRAWZ. Today I've got a new Pokemon design episode. I had a literal shower thought while I was in the shower, and I thought a cool bug type legendary. So I've designed a cool bug type legendary, so I want to take you through the process from references to initial sketches to developed designs to my final design and some shiny variations and stuff like that, and tell you a little bit about the Pokedex of this legendary bug. So yep, let's just jump right into it. Okay, so to start with, a little bit of backstory. Like I said in the intro, I was in the shower and I was thinking, there's a lot of legendaries that we have. You know, there's dragon legendaries, there's fire legendaries that we have, but there isn't any bug type legendaries. And I had this on my mind because I've recently restarted playing a new playthrough of Pokemon Shield, and I wanted to do a bug type only run. Not only do I think bug types are incredibly cool, I like a lot of their designs. They're mixed with a lot of really cool types, and I just think that bugs in general in the real world are really, really cool. I might not like them personally myself, and I probably won't want to handle them, but I do find them really, really interesting. So I wanted to make a bug type legendary, and I was looking through like actual bugs in mythology because I didn't actually know anything about that at all. And I came across obviously like dragonflies, bees actually really surprised me, and obviously the dung beetle was there as well. Dung beetle is a legendary or deific figure in Egyptian mythology that is represented by the sun god Ra, I believe it is, and it's said to kind of like roll the sun over to the next day, and dung beetles roll their dung balls so that their babies can have food immediately when they hatch. And I thought dung beetles are pretty epic, so I wanted to design a dung beetle legendary. Now, these are all of my references that I've gathered from online. If you've ever looked at actual beetles and dung beetles especially in general, they're freaking rad. Like, this reference picture here, I think it's just got a really cute face, but I think all the shapes in here are really interesting. When you start, I like bugs because they have really clear defined shapes for their exoskeletons, and their legs are really cool. You know, Pokemon like Scyther and Pinsir and Heracross are all really, really cool. Among some of my favorites, like Scolipede as well. They're all of their kind of like shapes are really simplified down, and I really, really like them. And I just really like this image of this Scarab beetle here. I think it's, or dung beetle. I think it's looks really cool. It's got like this like almost like little mustachy thing on the front there. It's got these two buggy eyes. It's got this flat top there and these like little wing things on the side. And this shell and the back bit are really, really cool. Just a kind of graphic illustration there, just to see how other people had illustrated the dung beetle. One on top of it's like actual dung ball that's rolled up there as well. I think it's really, really cool. And then this one really surprised me. This is a rainbow dung beetle. How cool is this? It's got all these really cool colours from golds and greens and dull greens with like red flecks. It's got this amazing cool horn there. These little like gold balls on there, these like goldish eyes. I think they're its eyes, you know, and it's got this really nice overall greenish colour. It's really, really brightly coloured, and I think it's really, really cool. So if you haven't actually looked up dung beetles or beetles in general, just take a moment to go and actually Google them and have a look at them. Even if you don't like insects that much, I do think they are really, really cool to look at, even just for shape design. So those are just my references. I'll now show you my very, very ugly initial sketches. Yeah, these are really, really ugly initial sketches. You know, again, this is all part of the process. This is what I want to share with people. You know, like I've said many times in my videos, I'm more of the concept artist route rather than an illustrator, as they're two completely different things. And so I'm more interested in the sketching and the exploration of your designs and stuff like that. And I like looking for shapes, like I said, shape design, and that's why I like insects so much. And so I just kind of like got all these really ugly sketches that I wanted to show you. Because the process for a lot of these, probably your favourite Pokemon designs, are probably just exactly done in the same way. Well, not exactly, but sort of close to. They go through a process of initial sketches, develop designs, to and fro from directors, and kind of like oversees and supervisors and stuff like that. But in my case, since I'm the creator, I'm also the designer and the supervisor, so I kind of make my own decisions on this kind of stuff. And so I just wanted to try and almost pick apart the shape design of the scarab beetle or the dung beetle itself. And I think they're really rad. They've got so many cool shapes, and I kind of tried to break this facial bit up here into kind of like these flat shapes of the flat top, that mustachy bit, the wingy sides, the big bug eyes, and then that kind of like almost really hunched shellish bit there. That was basically just a really crap kind of way to kind of like try and do that. But it's necessary for this kind of step. And then they kind of like moved on to other things here. Like another sketch here, trying to figure out, okay, now how can I turn that initial sketch from just looking like a generic bug to a more developed, more cartoonish, more Pokemon-ish kind of design. So this is the second one here. It's not exactly that much better, I would argue, but it is cool. I'm getting away from the realism of the actual beetle itself and more the more cartoonish realm. Initially, I was thinking that this bug type legendary could be on all fours. It'd be really fast. It'd be kind of fast and defensive. You know, more of like a sweeper type of potential on a team. But you know, that changes over time, as you'll see. Other ones down here, this boy down here, again getting a little bit more cartoonish, a little bit more kind of like stepping away from realism into more of the Pokemon realm, changing up the eyes, really exaggerating the shapes and the form of the creature itself, and then also trying to think about poses. What kind of pose do I want the dung beetle in? If you've ever seen dung beetles, if I just go back to my references, you can see down here they actually stand on top of the dung balls, or like in this illustration, actually sit on top of it. There's also another one where they actually are like up like this, where their front two legs are down, and then they have the rest of like the other pairs of legs are actually pressed up against the dung ball, and that's how they kind of like roll it. And I think that's really cool, and I wanted to try and represent that in this sketch here. It's obviously not the greatest, but you know, it is worth exploring that, see what I could do with it, but it just wasn't working for me. I don't think it looked particularly that great, but it was actually worth exploring that avenue in the design process. These last two initial sketches here are basically just trying to take that rainbow beetle I showed you earlier in my references and trying to make that work, trying to break that down into its simple shapes. And I really liked this big horn that it has actually on there. I think it's a really cool shape. It would help the actual design stick out when it comes to like doing silhouettes and stuff, so you can actually recognize the Pokemon, you know. And I love all these like shapes on its exoskeleton here, and its legs are really cool, and its arms. But these weren't working either. I tried it again on actually having it sat on the dung ball, because my idea was I want the dung ball to actually be incorporated into the design itself. Whether it's like stood on it, whether it's rolling it or holding it or something. But yeah, those are just my like initial sketches. They're not the greatest, but it's all about exploration. Next we're just going to move on to some developed designs, so stay tuned for that. Okay, so now moving on to some developed sketches. As you can see, it's completely different from my initial sketches. I wasn't really happy with how they were looking, and I don't really do too well with actually drawing things that are like on all fours generally anyway. So I wanted to shift my perspective. I was actually looking at some references of other bug type Pokemon, which I would actually recommend if you want to design a Pokemon, let's say it's a normal type or a fire type, or in my case a bug type. You always want to look at actual official artwork just to see how they do things, or you know, what kind of colours they're using. And I noticed that I was kind of only thinking one-dimensionally. I wasn't really thinking kind of like how like a Pokemon artist should think. If you look at, like I said, Heracross and Pinsir, they actually stand upright on two legs. Even though, like, obviously their real-world counterparts obviously don't do that. So I thought, why don't I shift my perspective and actually put my Pokemon, legendary Pokemon, on two legs. At this point I also came up with the name of Scaradung, obviously taking Scara from Scarab, as that's what they're called actually in Egypt. Instead of dung beetles, they're actually called scarab beetles. It also comes from the scientific name of the group that these beetles belong to, which is Scarabaeus, or Scarabaeidae, or Scarabaeus, I believe it's pronounced. If anybody can actually pronounce it properly in the comments, or can just correct me, I'm totally up to that. But I believe it's pronounced Scarabaeus. But it comes from that, and obviously dung comes from dung balls as they roll up. So I think Scaradung is really cool. So I'll just be referring to it as Scaradung from now on. I just really like the way it sounds. I think it's pretty clever with the naming, and it just rolls off the tongue, and it's fun to say. So I kind of shifted my perspective, like I said, and actually put Scaradung up on 2 legs, and immediately I was way more happy with the design. Like I said, it's all about figuring out what's best for the design, and it's all about that exploration. And just by looking at actual Pokemon designs, I kind of gained a new idea of just putting him on 2 legs. So as you can see, I've got multiple versions here. I wanted to try different eye shapes. But taking a step back from that, if you look at the actual design here, if you remember from the references, I've got this kind of like weird facial bit here with that little mustachy bit there, these like side triangle bits on there, but I've simplified them down into basically just 2 really simple shapes, as Pokemon tend to be not very complicated. Bugs a little bit more complicated because of all the joints and stuff in their legs and how weird they look. But I tried to keep it fairly simple. It's got like this soft underbelly here, and then it's got this really hard shell bit there that I took from that first bit of reference, and it's got this big shell on the back there, or kind of the second part of its exoskeleton. I'm not exactly sure what it's actually called on beetles, so if anybody is very familiar with beetles, or I can shed some light on that, I'd be appreciative of that. I'd like to know that. And then also, as you can see, I've actually incorporated the rainbow beetle's horn into the design. I think that looks really, really cool. I didn't want to get rid of that visual element, and it also helps to the silhouette as well. Help break this kind of more roundish shape into having a long kind of shape there to break it up. I think it looks really cool. I've got this in this really cool dynamic pose where it's kind of like leaned back, stood on these 2 legs, and I've got like all these really cool segments and hairs on there. I think that looks really cool. Got these really cool arms posed in a way, and I also had another idea of remembering how some Pokemon actually use items to kind of like attack with, so like Oranguru with its leaf, or Persimmon with its coconut. So I got that idea and actually thought, how about I just have Scaradung holding the dung ball itself, the dung ball that it actually attacks with. I think that's really cool. So it's kind of holding it like a football or a basketball. Yeah, so like a soccer ball for my American friends out there. But yeah, I really, really love this design. I think it's really cool. I'm much happier with it. I think it just looks really cool. As you can see, I did some eye variations just from simple kind of like circle shapes to kind of like these ringed shape ones, which I actually end up using in the end. And these blackish ones, trying to take inspiration from the first bit of reference. So I just wanted to show you that, and I think these are still pretty messy and ugly and pretty sketchy, but I actually really, really like these. I think it looks really cool, and I just feel a lot better about the design. So why don't I show the final artwork here. So here's the final artwork of Scaradung. I really, really am happy with it. I think the line weight and line quality actually matches that of like real Pokemon designs. I think that the shading and stuff really is close to that as well. Obviously it's not going to be perfect and it's not going to match it perfectly, but I think it's close enough where you could look at that and go, yeah, that looks like a Pokemon. Because when I ever do Pokemon designs on my channel, or when I get the urge to design a new Pokemon, what I want to do is look at a couple of factors. I want to look, does this actually look like a Pokemon? Can you look at that or glance at it and go, yeah, that looks vaguely like a Pokemon, even though it doesn't actually exist. Try to get the colours, make them a little bit more interesting, because I know Scarab Beetles tend to be kind of like blue and black, but I wanted some more vibrant colours, like the Rainbow Beetle, but they were a bit too vibrant. So I actually settled on kind of this purplishy, blackishy kind of colour scheme. I've got bright purples down here, got more of like bluish purples on the top for its exoskeleton, and then red in its eyes, just because I think it looks really cool. And then this dung ball has some nice kind of like reflective light at the bottom there, just so you can actually see the form of the ball itself. But yeah, I'm really super happy with this illustration of this concept. This is almost kind of like a proof of concept, to show that yeah, this design can actually work. I also designed a shiny form as well, which I think looks really, really cool, very vibrant, more of like a purple route actually, purple and yellow route. I think looks really cool. So that's the final kind of like concept art artwork and the shiny form there. But I also did do some shiny variations here as well. Obviously this one's the one I went with, but I did like more of a brownish greenish one, which I think looks really cool. I also did more of like a green and blue version, which I think looks really cool. So do you like the one that I ended up going with, or do you prefer the other two that I did, or can you come up with a better colour scheme, you know? But I'm super proud of the way it looks. Not am I really happy with the end result, but I just think it looks really cool. Finally we have a bug type legendary that I think would be really cool. There are other Pokemon that sort of match that status. Volcarona is very close to a legendary status. I think it's really powerful bug, really cool to have in a bug team. I will be having one of them on my team. But there's other Pokemon that match this, other bug types. Golisopod is really cool, really powerful. And I realised when I was trying to think of the type for this, we literally don't really have any bug ground types. I mean, I did literally Google and check if there was any other like prominent bug ground types that were pretty strong. Because I was thinking, oh, should it be bug poison, should it be bug ground, or should it be just pure bug, you know? But I want to incorporate the stinky kind of like dung ball, stuff like that. And I only found that there are literally only 2 in all of the Pokedexes, through all of the games, only 2 bug ground types. That is Nincada, a fairly weak Gen 3 bug ground type that you're probably just going to have and realise, oh, it's a little bit shit, I'm just going to chuck it away. And then there's Sandcloak Wormadam, which is really cool, but it's not going to be people's first choice. It's kind of meh, and it's also, again, not exactly very strong. So I wanted to make Scaradung bug ground type. So that's all I've really got to say about the design and the design process. So why don't I take you through the Pokedex entry. So I'll take you just some other stuff that I've written down as well for it. So it's called Scaradung, the dung beetle Pokemon. It's bug ground type, like I've just mentioned. It's a legendary / mythical because I almost forgot, Genesect is also very close. It's a really another cool bug steel type, I believe. That's not actually a mythical, not actually a legendary, sorry. It's actually a mythical Pokemon, which is why I want to make Scaradung more of a legendary rather than a mythical. Just a key point there. I also decided on its abilities, which are Stench, Poison Touch, and Regenerator. Now I put Regenerator there on its as its hidden ability because when I was researching stuff about Ra and the Sun God and how the dung beetle is a representation and how it rolls the sun over, it talks about how Ra is the Sun God and brings like rejuvenation and rebirth and regeneration and stuff like that, and I was like, okay, that's really cool. So I want to incorporate that again into there, another layer to the kind of like lore for this legendary, and you'll see how that plays into when I read you the Pokedex entry. It's also holding a new specific item for it, but can work with other Pokemon with the Stench ability. It's called the Dung Ball, and it boosts the Stench ability's effect, the flinch chance from 10%, which is usually, you know, Stench's flinch chance is 10%, and it bumps it up to 30% flinch chance. Just think about that. Normally, flinch, like I said, is a 10% chance to flinch with any kind of move, not just special, not just physical, it's any move, obviously, that hurts the opponent. But imagine having a specific item that actually boosts that to 30% of the time. That is crazy. That's why I think Stench is pretty cool. Plus, Stench is actually a fairly limited ability, actually. It's only on a certain family of Pokemon. It's on the Coughing line, it's on the Grimer line, it's only exclusive to Gloom, not Oddish or Vileplume. It's only on Gloom, which is really weird, as a hidden ability. So there's not many that actually really get Stench, and it would be really cool to kind of give it a little bit of a leg up, you know, because 10% to flinch ain't that great. You know, I think that's basically the same chance as the Ancient Power Boost, actually. That's only a 10% chance. So boosting up to 30% is really big. Poison Touch is pretty cool. Again, on contact moves, it'll be able to learn a lot of like physical moves, because I imagine it to be a very physically attacking, sort of like bulky legendary. Poison Touch is just really good. Good chance to poison. And then Regenerate it, like I said, for the reasons earlier. I did write down a lot of moves that it could potentially learn. Stuff like Bug Buzz, Sunny Day, Morning Sun. Again, the Ra reference for Morning Sun. Mega Horn, Brick Break, Struggle Bug, Poison Jab, Toxic, Venoshock, Bulldoze, Earthquake, Rock Slide, Leech Slide, Rollout, Rain Dance, Smackdown, Swords Dance, X-Scissor, Acrobatics, and Close Combat. I think that's a really good range of moves from ground, rock, obviously Stab Bug, fighting, acrobatics and some flying, some like nice recovery there with Morning Sun, some special moves in there like Bug Buzz, some more bulky stuff like Toxic and Venoshock, Bulldoze for lowering speed, stuff like that. I think that's really, really cool. Rain Dance to helping other members of the team. Rollout for some good stab. Obviously, Rollout being its signature move, as it's like a dung beetle that rolls balls. Stuff like that. So that's just some initial information that I've written down. I think is really interesting and really relevant to the design of Scaradung. Now I'll read the Pokédex entry for Scaradung. Scaradung, the dung beetle Pokemon. Ancient tomes and scribes recount tales of the legendary beetle, Scaradung, the original bug type. The legendary bug of the land, Scaradung, utilizes its unique dung balls that it rolls from other Pokemon's waste and implants them into the earth. Performing this feeds nutrients into the earth, regenerating the soil and plant life. Its legendary standing commanded it to be hailed as a saviour of the land, transforming dry or barren wastelands into bountiful and lush areas to produce crops and vegetation. However, wars among humans soon angered it, so Scaradung retreated, withdrawing from the world. The dung balls Scaradung forms can vary in any size, from minuscule to enormous, providing superior offensive and defensive capabilities. One tale depicts a dung ball so great it squashed an entire army. So, I think that's pretty freaking rad. Not only did I learn about some really cool mythology for dung beetles and beetles in general, I also learned about probably one of the coolest beetles in the world, as well as some other species like the rainbow beetle. I think that's really, really cool, and learned about kind of like Beetle's life cycle as well. I also got to actually finally design a really cool bug type legendary that I not only think has a really good typing, it has really cool lore, it has a pretty cool design, I would say, and I think people would actually really latch onto this bug type legendary. Plus I think the Pokédex entry is pretty cool as well. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you enjoyed the design. Let me know in the comments and whatever that about the design. Do you think it's really cool? Would you use Scaradung on a competitive team? Stuff like that. That's all stuff I try and think about as well. So yeah, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell, all that good jazz, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Alright, bye! Hey there, thanks for watching. If you like what you see, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share my work around. I'll see you next time.